Hello, hello, Ambrose Blofield here for the Sales Mastery Company. And today I want to share with you one of the most impressive athletic feats, in my opinion, of all time by any human on this particular planet. And that is the incredible Alex Honnold, who scaled the incredible El Capitan 1,000-meter or 3,000-foot sheer granite cliff a few short years ago with no ropes, and he managed to concentrate to do so in 3 hours and 56 minutes. Just apply that to any other sport. There are very few sports, Ironman type events aside, where you have to concentrate perfectly for that time period. Allegedly 4,000 to 5,000 individual handholds and footholds that he had to learn and meditate on and focus again and again in his training in order to deliver the incredible feat, remembering the consequences of a fall was serious injury at the bottom and death the moment he got high up on the rock face itself. So today I want to share with some insights about how Alex Honnold's amazing feat applies directly to sales. So let's just look at a couple of quick things. If you've downloaded through our interactions with our social media, then hopefully you've got the workbook already with a welcome on page 2. If not, please send an email to admin@salesmasterycompany.com and share the topic, which is Achieve the Impossible with Alex Honnold. So today I want to talk about how an impossible feat considered by many hundreds and hundreds of top elite climbers said it would be impossible for any human to climb El Capitan, the most famous rock face in the world. And it was his unique presentation, his unique preparation, his unique effort, which is something I really want to remind salespeople and sales managers around the world. It is your preparation that no one sees that sets you apart. It is rarely your delivery on the day. He didn't show up and go, I'll give it a go on the day. Now, the interesting thing for Alex Honnold is further down the valley in Yosemite National Park, he actually tried to climb and successfully climbed an amazing rock face called Half Dome, sheer on one front and then curved on the back. You can walk it up on the back. You're going to have to sort of pull yourself up with some levers and pulleys later on. But essentially, he climbed the front face and he felt like he had cheated himself because he hadn't done enough preparation. So although he succeeded in scaling a cliff face that was typically about 2/3 or 3/4 of the height of El Capitan, an amazing feat, the first human to do so, he felt like he cheated. So it didn't feel like the pure experience he wanted. But when he scaled El Capitan, it was the pure experience he wanted, despite the fact there was an incredible National Geographic film crew filming every moment and producing an incredible documentary movie called Free Solo. So the point I want to understand here is the impossible is possible. So just pause for a moment. Which is the customer in your marketplace or overseas marketplace that you've already said to yourself, you know what, it's going to be impossible for us to land? What I'm saying to you is with the right training, the right coach alongside you, it is possible to achieve it. Hopefully you've got multiple coaches within your organization and outside your organization to help you achieve the impossible. Climbing has to be solo by nature, even though a lot of people climb with pairs if they're climbing with ropes. But soloing, when you climb with no ropes and no aid on the cliff face, it's got to be done by yourself, no one alongside you. Now, again, the way he describes himself is kind of like an awkward, kooky, or weird kind of kid who didn't really fit in. And he typically embraced climbing because he found it was an easier thing to do by himself to go out and climb rather than be part of team sports because he was awkward around others. And he's dedicated his life to mastering one thing. Now, that one thing happens to be climbing, not only free soloing, climbs with ropes. He's done some speed climbs, then ascent. He and this incredible climber, Tommy, managed to climb that in about 2 hours, again on ropes to each other. Neither slipped and fell and pulled each other to their death, but they did have the psychological advantage of being on ropes itself and roping up and being very quick. He's done some incredible things. He's done some amazing things in bouldering, which is when you're climbing big sort of rock boulders, if you like, often left over by former glaciers in the Ice Age. The reality is one dedication to mastery. So why shouldn't your mastery be of sales? Now, here's a picture of Alex Honnold at the top of the rock face. This is what the finished face looked like for himself. He came looped around the back around that. He was the first person to climb it, as I mentioned before. And that's not to suggest others are going to go past him, but he did something that people said was impossible. And that's what I want you to think about for a moment. Think about what is impossible. We're shortly going to head over to Argentina for work. Believe me, when we started our jobs 18 years ago in little old New Plymouth in the west coast of the North Island of New Zealand, we thought it was a big deal when we got work in Auckland and Wellington. We thought that was a big deal. Then we thought it was a big deal to get work in Australia. Then we thought Paris and London was a big deal. Then we thought New York and Canada was a big deal. Believe me, go to Argentina, where the majority of the people are either bilingual or Spanish speaking, feels like a big deal. But instantly I'm sitting there thinking, well, where's next? So I want you to challenge yourself about the where's next for my career. I want you to see sales as a career. What I massively respect about America in many cases is the fact that they see sales as a trade. I'm not saying everybody works hard at it. I'm not saying everyone's professional at it. I'm not saying they're always better than everybody else. But I do like the mindset that they have, which I don't see as often when we work with clients, particularly in Europe and Australia and New Zealand. They see that the industry they're in is the trade, as opposed to sales as a trade. So that's something. Alex Honnold sees climbing as a trade. I want you to see sales as a trade. It's important to understand this. I don't like heights. Despite the fact that I go up tall mountains, particularly for the act of skiing, and I have good views and hiking, the reality is I don't like heights. I've got an irrational fear. It is an irrational fear of heights because I have no intention of dying young. The reality about this is to remember he understands the difference of risk, of taking risks, and consequence. The consequence of slipping and falling on a 3,000-foot slab of rock is that you will die typically if you're going to fall. Once you're about 50 meters up, you're probably going to die. That's the consequence. The risk, however, he can mitigate through training, hard work, planning, and practice. Just think about that in a sales context. The consequence, were you to lose a big client, is probably not death. Yes, you might miss out on them for the next 2 or 3 years, but then the next time around, preferred supply agreements, you might be in the box seat to go next time, or at least be one of the options next time. The consequence, I doubt you experience, are death. The risks, however, can be mitigated or managed with good training, good application, good processes, good support, good coaching, good development, good self-improvement, good self-awareness, good leadership, good self-leadership, and everything else that goes with that. So it's important to understand. Now, he believed also that he was ready to climb it 2 years before he climbed it. The first year he showed up thinking, yep, I'm ready for this. He started going through his routines of preparing at the start of summertime and went, no, I'm not. The next year he showed up and he said, yes, I'm ready to do this. Bearing in mind, this was now 3 years into his preparation. It took him 4 years to prepare. He showed up, he slipped and fell, thankfully at the bottom, injured his ankle severely. And some of the moments on the whole climb, you had to have strong ankles on both feet. If it had been 1 foot and he didn't need that foot to be as strong, he'd probably have given it a go. Maybe he'd have fallen, maybe he'd have made it 1 year early. It was 2 years after he said, yes, I'm ready. Interestingly, it was 8 years before he did the final climb that he first said, I reckon I could climb that. 4 years of solid preparation, the final 2 years from the moment of saying, yes, I can do this, to doing it. So what about you in sales? Who's that big customer that 8 years from now you'll say, you know what, they're a household name and now giving regular income, regular commission checks? Who is it 4 years away that was thinking, you know what, I'm going to put some effort into them? And who is it 2 years from now that you're sitting there today going, you know what, why not us? Somebody's got to win. So I want you to take that attitude. I think there's some real collaborative ideas between the whole idea of free soloing and what Alex Honnold did, considered to be the impossible, and what you can do in sales. The other point around that is he turned his weaknesses into strength. If you lack patience, which I have to say is a common trait in salespeople, use that. Get out there, use it for something. If you've lost a big job, lost a big client, lost a big project, and that made you angry, drive yourself in terms of your activity forward. No, don't badmouth your customer. No, don't badmouth who they decided to go to. What I'm saying is use that as drive. If you went and did a presentation overseas and it completely fell apart, walk away with the 15 or 20 lessons from that, so you never actually are causing those issues further forward. The point I want to make here is any lesson that you learn along the way of sales is unlikely to be as fatal a consequence as giving free soloing a try. And that's something I do not encourage people to do. So some of the fundamentals behind all of this, and this is the bit I'm most fascinated about, is the humans behind these incredible feats of human endurance or human success. Number one is, what is the mindset they take? In his perspective of, I've got to do 4,000 moves to get to the top. That's my mission. Think about you. Winning that biggest customer in the marketplace, 4,000 moves. He said every single one's got to stick and be right, otherwise I die. Maybe the ones at the bottom I'm injured for another year, but aside from that, everything else matters. Number two, training and practice can speed up the process and can speed up the road. That's really important to remember. I joined Procter & Gamble. I was very lucky to be offered whichever one of the 5 main divisions they had in the UK that I could join. The division I chose is the away from home market, as they referred to it back then, which essentially is the industrialized market that they're not as competent at. They weren't as experienced at back then. They've been doing it for about 8 years, as opposed to the other markets for 150 years. So I looked at it and went, that's going to train me quicker because they're going to have to. They don't want that to be a weaker division. They want that to be the high growth division. So I figured I could accelerate my career by joining the toughest market, or the toughest department, if you like, as a division of one of the best companies on the planet. or considered to be the second most successful company on the planet at the time. Number 3, refining your talent is key. You've got a role in sales or sales management. You've got some natural talents. You're typically good with people. You know how to take notes, maybe update the CRM, strategize, think under pressure. You've got to hone those skills, those talents, those gifts, if you like. But you've got to work at them. You've got to leverage those things you're great at and, of course, overcome the weaknesses. In his case, there was a crux moment of the whole climb. And he literally referred to it as a boulder problem because that's what it's called. And there's a moment when he had to do a karate kick out to his left. He has about 2,000 feet of fresh air below him. And he has to push up into the mountain with his thumb to push down onto his right foot. So pushing up to create some tension and force down so that he can hold between his push up and his push down, like people go chimneying when you go up a narrow sheet of rock. In this case, it was push up with one thumb to push up with his toe, and then wedging himself there while also karate kicking horizontally to the left. Once he fell towards that wall, so it's a real leap of faith. If he slipped down, that would be a 2,000-foot drop. Had to go out to the left. He reckoned it took him the best part of 1 year just to learn how to do that move. And in sales, I think I'm going to encourage you here, refine your moves, refine your presentation, practice and role playing. So many people on sales planets say to me, I don't want to role play, I don't want to practice, meaning I do want to practice in front of customers when there's thousands of dollars at stake. That saddens me. Practice in front of your colleague and making a mess of it simply bruises your ego. And if you're driven by ego, we need to talk about your faith, and we need to talk about your life values. For him, 12 months of Pilates training and stretching, and even changed his entire diet to become a vegetarian, for him to achieve that one move, which was a key move. What are you prepared to do in your practice and training for you to shortcut this and to achieve great outcomes? That was what the boulder problem was about. Sacrifice. Now, sacrifice in the case of free solo, you have to come to terms with the idea this could be your last climb. And if in his case, married with a child, you need to consider what you're going to leave behind in terms of your legacy. Now, I'm not saying that to be morbid or depressing, but I just need you to understand there are sacrifices. In sales, we might have to sacrifice long evenings, long drives, long flights, long preparation, long proposal writing. You might have to sacrifice time on the job doing the right thing and give up some of the tasks you like, such as being drifted across LinkedIn and social media. But sacrifice is a requirement for you to achieve, in this case, world-class status in the field. The point I use on that point is he doesn't care about status. He's just always dreamed of climbing what he thinks is the most impressive rock face on planet Earth. And then 8 years before 2017, he thought, I might give that a go one day. And finally, when you're a salesperson presenting to a customer, you've got to be able to execute. And one of my favorite quotes from the Navy SEALs of America, which might as well be a quote from the SAS in Australia, New Zealand, or the UK, is that in a firefight, under fire, you'll sink to the level of your preparation and the level of your training. You're not going to rise to the occasion. I think that's really important to understand. That's something that someone like an Alex Honnold needs to understand, that you're going to sink to the level of preparation and training. You're not going to just bring it out on the day, just like an Olympian thinks, well, it'd be really good on the day, but an Olympian doesn't think that way. That's why they're an Olympian. So they think for 12 or 16 years, on the day, I'm going to sink to the level of my training, my muscle memory, and my preparation. So the other aspects I always want to share with you before I wrap up today's topic around how to achieve the impossible is about remembering that each conversation that matters, just like every handhold matters for Alex Honnold, every conversation, every email, every proposal to every customer, it matters, so respect it. Number 2, pressure is constant in climbing, although the consequences are severe. Pressure is constant in sales. Learn to live with that pressure. It's okay to have a fear of failure. It's okay to have a fear of success. Learn to live with that pressure. Number 3, you will need to train and you will need to practice. Those are essential things for you to go to the highest possible level. Believe me, the time we've spent in preparation for this trip to Argentina is significant because we want every single attendee to have an amazing experience with us. Not because it's in my second or third language in this case. The reality here is they deserve it. So do your customers. They deserve the best of you. Number 4, you're going to need a support team. You need a good manager to motivate you and hold you accountable. You need peers who are going to step in when required. You need to work alongside operations or finance or admin or marketing. And you possibly need some element of admin or sales support. You probably need the support of a really, really decent CRM. But that's a topic for another day. Number 5, in sales, you can't be selling tomorrow's sale today. The phone call you're doing right now, the presentation you're walking into, this is the only presentation you get to do right now. So focused right now. The All Blacks talk about being in the moment or being where your feet are. In sales, you need to be in the moment, even if you've got 15 more phone calls to do today. This phone call you're on right now is the one that matters. Number 6, There are no shortcuts to any place worth going, which is something that the opera singer Beverly Sills, who won multiple awards for opera singing, noted. Number 7, under pressure, you just need to take action. Now, I was recently coaching somebody earlier on today in Tasmania, and they're talking about going and cold calling people that they really wanted to target. The risk for them is if they overly dwell on the actual script, they'll suffer analysis paralysis. They won't take action. Sometimes in life, we need to do the training, do the practice, and then go execute and then learn from the job itself. That's partly why I love sales so much, is you're having to execute under pressure when it matters. So in summary for today, risk is different to consequence. And in sales, we neither face the risk if we do training and practice, nor the consequence of free salary. Achieving the impossible is possible, but it will take time. In his case, 8 years. Then, of course, there's a deliberate action you need to take every single day, like an Olympian, to move towards your overall target. It's going to feel scary in sales, and sometimes you will fail. So long as you fail forward and you learn from the experience, you're ultimately going to achieve the goal. The reason why we can step on a plane and help people with their marketing and sales strategy, as well as with their sales process in Argentina, is because for 18 years, we've been learning and moving towards that. We didn't know it at the time. It was never part of our mission, but we're ready now because we've spent 18 years of practice. And then finally, regular people is Alex Honnold. He's the geeky or the goofy kid, as he describes himself. He's the oddball. He's the guy that doesn't fit into school or college. He's the guy that stands out in the crowd because he doesn't look like he's in the crowd. He's the guy that's awkward. So if you've got any of those traits yourself, I want to encourage you. It's prepared you for this moment right now. How could you reach out and achieve the impossible? Something your manager or business owner said was not possible. That's what I want to inspire you for today. Now, if you want somebody to walk alongside you, then you're very welcome to join our Sales Academy. It's for businesses with teams of sort of 2 to 8, 2 to 10 in sales. Other than that, they typically work with us directly. And ultimately, at the end of the day, book in for a free scale-up call. Let's have a phone call, 15 minutes, or flick us an email to admin@salesmasterycompany.com. Let's have a chat to understand where's your business now, where's your team going, and can we help accelerate moving forward? Because practice and training is a way to shorten the timeline, but it does take time to achieve the impossible. I've been Ambrose Blofield with the Sales Mastery Company. I'll be sure to take action.